To keep yourself updated, subscribe to Indigolearn and click the bell icon and download our app OneFin to start learning on the go.
Hello everyone, hope you all are doing very good. Today we are going to do the review of Paper 2 Part A Business Laws. As far as all of you have already, now as far as paper is concerned, the paper was a very simple and an easy paper, and I hope all of you all have written it very nicely. So let's now quickly do the paper review and see what should have been the answers to the questions asked. Okay, so let's start with the first question. The first question was Radha invited her 10 close friends to celebrate her 25th birthday party on 1st of January 2023 at 7:30 p.m. at a well-known hi-fi restaurant at Tonk Road, Jaipur. So there's a girl who has invited her friends to her birthday party, and the number of friends she invited is 10. All invited friends accepted the invitation and promised to attend the said party. On request of the hotel manager, Radha, she deposited 5,000 as non-refundable security for the said party. On the scheduled date and time, 3 among the 10 invited friends did not turn up. So the total number of invitees were 10, out of which only 7 turned up and 3 people did not turn up for the party. Radha, enraged with the behavior of the 3 friends, wanted to sue them for the loss incurred in the said party as advised as per provisions of Indian Contract Act 1872. So here, what type of agreement comes into picture in this particular case? It is a social agreement. And as you all know, social agreements are not valid contracts. There's no contract which has come into picture, as a result of which Radha, she cannot sue her friends for not coming or not turning up to her birthday party. So this was the first question, and a very simple one. Based on social agreements, the contract is not valid, and hence Radha cannot sue her friends for the loss which she incurred for the birthday party. Now there's a second part to it, which asks, would your answer differ if the said party had been a contributory to 2023 New Year celebration party organized by Radha? Now here the facts of the case have changed a little bit, wherein they ask us that if it had been a contributory party organized by Radha, in that situation, would the case be different? So yes, the case would have been different. The friends would have to contribute their portion to Radha because the party was that way. But in either case, Radha does not have a right to sue her friends. Let's move on to the next question. ABC Limited has allotted equity shares with voting rights to XYZ Limited worth 15 crores and convertible preference shares worth 10 crores during the financial year 22-23. After that, the total share capital of the company is 100 crores. So the total share capital of the company is 100 crores, out of which the number of convertible preference share is 15 crores, worth 15 crores, and equity is worth convertible preference shares is worth 10 crores, and equity shares with voting rights is 15 crores. Comment on whether XYZ Limited would be called an associate company. So for associate company, threshold limit, which we know, is 20%, and 20% here is total of equity share capital plus convertible preference share capital, which comes to around 25% of the total share capital. So ABC Limited was allotted with 10 crore worth equity. ABC Limited was allotted with 10 crore worth convertible preference share capital and 15 crore worth equity shares. So their holding here becomes 25%. Now, when we calculate or when we look at whether there's an associate relationship between companies or not, the threshold limit is at least 20%. And here it is 25%. So yes, the company would be an associate company. Again, a very simple question. Moving on to the next question. Mr. A contracted to sell his Swift car to Mr. B. Both missed to discuss the price of the said Swift car. Later, A refused to sell his car to B on the ground that agreement was void, being uncertain about the price. Does Mr. B have any right against Mr. A under the Sale of Goods Act? So here, this is a situation which falls under Section 9 of the Sale of Goods Act, which talks about price. Now, as you all know, the price is an essential element for a contract of sale. However, here in the situation, though no price is decided upon, the contract of sale is still valid. And Section 9 says that here the person is liable to pay a reasonable amount to that other person. So reasonable amount would be there, and the contract cannot be made void here in this particular case. Moving on to the next one. So this is a direct question. As per the general rules, stranger to a contract cannot file a suit in case of breach of contract. Comment and explain the exceptions to this rule as per the provisions to the Indian Contract Act. So this is again a straightforward direct question wherein you have to state all the exceptions to the rule that a stranger to a contract cannot sue. So all the situations wherein in case of a trust, a beneficiary can file a case, wherein in case of family agreements, a third party can file a case, a family member who's not part of that agreement can file, covenants running with line. So you have all a set of exceptions. So those exceptions had to be written here. A direct question, nothing much to discuss for this one. So let's move on to the next one. Discuss the liabilities of a limited liability partnership and its partners in case of fraud as per the provisions of LLP Act. Again, a direct question based on section 30 of the LLP Act. So liabilities of LLP and its partners. Liabilities of partners and LLP is limited. However, the liability of LLP is unlimited. And in case of fraud, the liability may be made unlimited depending on the situation. Moving on to the next one. This is again a direct question which asks us, explain about the registration procedure of a partnership firm as prescribed under the Indian Partnership Act 1932. So whatever is the registration process, section 5859 of the Indian Partnership Act 1932 had to be quoted here. What is the process required, or what are the steps required for getting a firm registered is what has to be written here. Moving on to the next one. Mr. A, the employer, induced his employee Mr. B to sell his one-room flat to him at less than the market value. Now here there is some pressure which was put on Mr. B by his employer to secure promotion. So if A told B that if you want promotion, sell your flat to me at a price which is less than the market price. Mr. B sold the flat to Mr. A. Later on, Mr. B changed his mind and decided to sue Mr. A. Examine the validity of the contract as per the provision of Indian Contract Act. Now, I'm sure as soon as you would have read this question, something would have come up to your mind, and that is undue influence. So here, this is a situation wherein the relationship between two parties is such that one can induce or dominate the other party and take unfair advantage of that dominant position. And that's what has happened here. Mr. A, being the employer, has dominated his employee, Mr. B, and has made him enter into a contract to sell him his flat for a price less than the market price. So yes, Mr. B can avoid the contract. The nature of contract is voidable, since it is based on undue influence. And Mr. B, being the aggrieved party, has a right to avoid the contract at any point of time he wants to. Moving on to the next question. Mr. S promises Mr. M to paint a family picture for 20,000 rupees. So here Mr. S has promised to paint a family picture for 20,000 rupees. Now painting is something which requires personal skill. And assures to complete his assignment by 15th March 2023. So there is a time limit, there's a due date which has been fixed for completion of this assignment. Unfortunately, Mr. S died in a road accident on 1st March and his assignment remains undone. So unfortunately, what has happened is on 1st of March, which is the date prior to the date of submission of assignment, completion of assignment, Mr. S has died and the assignment is still pending. It is not done. Can Mr. M bind the legal representative of Mr. S for the promise made by Mr. S? Now here, had it been a situation, or now in this case, had it been a case where the contract did not require any personal skill of Mr. S, Mr. M would definitely be in a position to bind Mr. S's legal representative. So in this situation, the answer to this first question would be no, Mr. M cannot bind the legal representative for the promise which was made by S. Suppose Mr. S had promised to deliver some photographs to Mr. M on 15th March. against a payment of 10,000 rupees, but he dies before that date, will his representative be bound to deliver the photographs in this situation? Now, if it is a situation which does not require any personal skill, then yes, in that case, the other party can be bound. The legal representative of the person can be bound to perform the contract. Generally, the person himself has to perform, or in a situation where the person dies, his legal representatives will be bound by the contract unless and until any personal skill is involved. So your answer to this question completely is based on whether personal skill is involved or not. Moving on to the next one. Describe and brief the rights of the buyer against the seller in case of breach of contract of sale. So here we have to write the right of buyer against the seller, not the seller against the buyer. So all the rights such as suit for specific performance, warranty, breach of condition, or suit for damages, all of that has to be written here in this particular question. Again, a direct question and a very simple one. Moving on to the next one. P, Q, and R are partners in a partnership firm. R retires from the firm without giving a public notice. So Mr. R has retired from the firm without giving any public notice. So there are three partners, P, Q, and R, out of which R has retired. And what R did was he has not given a public notice of retirement. Let's start with the next question. P, Q, and R are partners in a partnership firm. So there are three partners, P, Q, and R, out of which R retires without giving a public notice. So Mr. R has retired and he is not given any public notice. P approached S, an electronic appliances trader, for purchase of 25 fans for his firm. P introduced E, an employee, as his partner of the firm. So E here becomes partner by holding out. So E here becomes a partner by holding out. S believing E and R. So E is the partner by holding out and R is the person who has retired. As partners, supplied 25 fans to the firm on credit. S did not receive the payment for the fans even after expiry of the credit period. So he supplied the fans on credit, but failed to receive the payment for the fans even after expiry of the credit period. Advise S from whom he can recover the payment as per the provisions of Indian Partnership Act. So here the partners would be liable. That is, P and Q are any which ways liable because they are partners of the firm. But Mr. E will also be liable because he is a partner by holding out here in the situation, and R will also be liable because he has not given a public notice of his retirement. A retiring partner is held liable for the acts of the firm till the time he gives the public notice of his retirement. So here in the situation, P, Q, R, and E, all of them would be liable to Mr. S. Moving on to the next question. An auction sale of certain goods was held on 7th March 23 by the fall of hammer in favor of highest bidder X. The payment of auction price was made on 8th March, followed by the delivery of goods on 10th March. When the auction sale is complete, now as you all know, auction sale is complete on fall of hammer. So here in the situation, the fall of hammer had happened on 7th of March 23. So the date of completion of sale in this situation is also 7th of March 2023. Moving on to the next one. Certain goods were sold by sample by J to K, who in turn sold the same goods by sample to L. L by sample sold the same goods to M. M found that goods were not according to the sample and rejected the goods and gave a notice to L. L sued K, K sued J. Can M reject the goods? Also advise KL and as per the provisions of the Sale of Goods Act. So M can definitely reject the goods. Why? Because this is a case of sale by sample. And as you all know that in case of sale by sample, the bulk should correspond with the sample in quality. And since that has not taken place here, M definitely has the right to reject the goods. And That is how you had to answer. This question is based on sale by sample, implied condition of sale by sample. Next one is explain the concept of corporate wheel. So corporate wheel theory is what you had to explain here. Briefly state the circumstances where the corporate will be lifted. So there are 5 situations where the corporate wheel is lifted. So you had to elaborate, mention in detail about those 5 situations, and also a simple conceptual explanation of what corporate wheel theory is. Moving on to the next question. Distinguish between void contract and voidable contract. So again, a straightforward, a very, very, very easy question. You just had to write the differences between void contract and voidable contract. Nothing much to discuss here. Moving on, what are the rights of partners with respect to conduct of business of a firm? So Section 12 of the Indian Partnership Act 1932, which prescribes the right which a partner has with respect to conduct of business, had to be mentioned here, all the rights which a partner has. Moving on to the last question. ABC Private Limited is a registered company under Companies Act. Paid up capital is 35 lakhs, turnover 2.5 crores. Whether the ABC Private Limited can avail the status of small company or not. So firstly, explain the meaning of small company. We have 2 threshold limits of 4 crores and 40 crores. 4 crores for the paid up capital and 40 crores for the turnover respectively. So here in the situation, the paid up capital and the turnover, both of them are well within the limit. So yes, it is a small company. So for this particular question, you just had to explain the meaning of small company and then write that ABC Private Limited falls under the definition of small company. Yes, it is a small company. So this was all in all discussion of your June 23 CA Foundation paper 2 part A business laws. So overall, the paper was very easy, a little bit lengthier because you had to write answers to direct questions. But if I talk about the paper, you had a chance to score really well in this paper. And I hope all of you all have written your law examination very well. Please stay in touch. And for any queries, you can always contact us on forums. We are always happy to help. Thank you.